Co-ops are unique because its members basically they joined together in the past to provide a service that nobody else would provide for them, so they did it themselves.
We're together for one purpose.
That we're here to serve the members. All other purposes don't really matter.
It's all about the member at the end of the line. So I'm better if our colleague systems are better.
That's just a very rewarding kind of environment to work in.
We're best served when we're unified, but that doesn't mean we all agree on every point.
Collectively, there isn't a person at the Basin level, at the G&T level or anything that really doesn't have the members' best interests at heart.
And you have to have candid, honest, open conversation around what those challenges are.
I think that's when you really have to work hard on your relationships and all be rowing the boat in the same direction.
That strength we have working together that will take us through the challenges we have today and the challenges of tomorrow.
Slow process. We can't get things done overnight.
We're going to come out of this stronger. It's tough right now, but we're going to come out of this as a stronger unit.
We've seen the cycles through the Basin up and down over the last 35, 40 years.
You have a number of people that have been through change for years and years.
Managers have been around a long time, and they speak of the stress they went through in the 80s.
Economies were horrible, interest rates were high, everything was bad.
They've been through it all, they've seen it all.
It's nice to work with the cooperative power supply system and know that people are there, have a knowledge of the business cycles that we've been going through, the changes up and down, the challenges that we've had with the carbon restricted world that we're looking at now, and the changes and challenges that we have on DGC.
Basin's changed a lot in the last 12 months, but you could say that in the last 12 years as well.
It's hard when you got a ship as big as Basin. You don't turn a super tanker on a dime. It doesn't happen.
We've always really pointed to the past and say, listen, we're here because of our forefathers, and we're here because no one else would serve us, and so we did it. But it's time to turn the page now and say, listen, now what are we going to do for our membership today?
One of the things I'm proudest of Basin on in the last 18 months is I feel like we have a coherent plan moving forward, a plan for DGC, a plan for the long-term management of our legacy assets, management of our cash and financial position, management of our internal costs and operating costs. Those are all substantial changes in the last 18 months to 2 years that I think are making us better.
The old way of doing it is gone now, but at the end of the day, the mission statement is the same. Provide reliable, affordable energy for our members. It's just going to be a different way of doing it going forward.
Good morning and welcome to our 2018 annual meeting. Today, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about DGC, give you an update. I want to visit with you a little bit about Basin and DGC going forward, and then I want to talk about the future just a little bit. But before I get started this morning, I want to express a thank you, just as Chairman Peltier just did a minute ago, to our employees. I tell you, I think most of you know what we went through this past year, this past summer, in fact. I told my wife the other day, you know what? First time in my life, I'm really glad summer's over, right? First time in my life. And I really want to express gratitude to our employees for sticking with. There was sort of a funny story that happened through it, and I don't want to make light of what we did in any way, but about a week and a half or 2 weeks after we'd completed the reduction in force, my wife and I had the occasion to sit down with dinner with my doctor and his wife. And during the course of dinner, he said to me, I got a bone to pick with you. And I said, well, what's that? And he said, well, I had a patient come in yesterday, and this particular patient told me that they had participated in the reduction in force. And so he said, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Are you doing all right with it? And this patient said, yeah, I'm fine with it. I understand. And, I'm going forward with my life, and I feel good about it. But I got to tell you, our CEO, Paul Sukut, looks terrible. It's bad. And he said, really? And this patient said, yeah, in fact, I think he should really go see a doctor. And maybe he has. If he has, that doctor can't be any good at all because he don't look any better, right? So anyway, it was a pretty funny story. And I don't want to make light of anything that occurred this summer because it was a stress. We're a family at Basin Electric. Our Basin Electric, as Chairman Peltier said just a minute ago, you know, we really feel that we work together for you, the membership, in every way. So, as I prepared for this morning, I got to thinking about all the strategic changes that have occurred just in the last 2 to 3 years. And I got a great communication staff, and so I was able to sit down with them, and they were kind enough to sort of piece together a timeline. And I want to just take a minute or two to review that with you so you can get a feel for the timeline and all the changes that have occurred in just the last couple of years. The timeline really starts in 2015. In July of 2015, we bought out of RUS. Now we have to rely on capital markets. We have to maintain good bond ratings. Steve Johnson will tell you all about that here later this morning. In October of 15, maybe the biggest change that ever occurred at Basin Electric. Maybe the biggest change in how we do business. And our members participated in this too. I know a lot of the Class A managers out there will attest to this morning. One of the biggest changes that ever occurred. Today, our plants must compete on a daily basis with everybody else in the Midwest. They're stacked cost-wise every day, and they're challenged. In January 16, our board approved the environmental controls at the Laramie River Station. In August of 16, the mid-year rate increase, and I know we don't want to go through that again. In January of 17, we welcomed back our 3 Montana cooperatives. In May of 17, the peakers in the Basin went fully commercial. In November of 17, the AVS to Nesset line was completed. In November of 17, we held our first ever members-only annual meeting day. Tomorrow we'll do that again. Another way we're trying to improve in communications, and a little bit later I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. In January of 18, the urea plant started up, and Dave Sauer's going to give you an update there. We're making progress. I think Chairman Peltier alluded to that as well. We're making progress, and Dave can talk to you a little bit about that later. In May of 18, we dedicated our integrated test center in Wyoming with Governor Meade. In July of 18, we began our N7 fertilizer marketing partnership with OCI, and Ken Rutter's going to update you on that in a little while. We're seeing great benefits, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then, of course, here in September 18, we completed our reduction in force, a 21% reduction in our workforce since January of 18. So, let's talk about DGC first. Where are we really at with DGC? You know, we've been saying for about a year now, we really don't have a gas plant anymore. And I know all of you out there know about gas, natural gas, and the prices and the abundance of it, how it forces prices down. We have a fertilizer factory. We really do. And you can really see that we're not really dependent upon natural gas anymore in terms of revenues. We really are not. It's almost a byproduct. Today, we produce about 600,000 to 700,000 tons of fertilizer on an annual basis. Think ammonia, think ammonium sulfate, think urea. Urea's had some hiccups. I'm the first to tell you that. We didn't get it started up right away. The first half of the year, we had some struggles, but it's improved. And I'll say again, Dave is going to talk to you a little bit later about that. But now we've got our production back on track, and I'm very optimistic about it. One product I want to talk just briefly about is our DEF, or diesel exhaust fluid. We really haven't seen a lot of benefit yet, and it has great potential. It does. And our N7 partnership is finding great markets for us and helping us with the transport of it. So I'm optimistic today that we are going to see some benefits on the revenue side in terms that N7 can find for us. So if I were to summarize a little bit today about our urea facility, with the help of some of the consultants on production, with the help of N7 on the marketing of the revenue, we've got an asset, guys. We have an asset here. We have an asset for the membership. We do. But despite all those changes and despite getting the fertilizer plants up, we began looking at some of preliminary forecasts in early summer. Steve came in and showed me, and as he says, and he says it so well, it never really left the office. It really didn't. It was dire. We knew that. We knew we had to do something about it. really caused by low commodity prices. Think low gas prices, think low fertilizer prices, think low tar oil prices or oil prices. And so we knew we had to do something. So what we really did is we started running some iterations. Can we run this facility in a different way? And before I start explaining what we tried to do, you have to understand that both ammonia and ammonium and urea, those two big fertilizer facilities, can both run at 100% with only half of the gas side or gas plant running. And so naturally you'd think, let's try and see what it would look like running at half rates on the coal side. It just didn't work. We lost too much in revenues on the coal side, think tar oil and ammonium sulfate, and we couldn't cut costs far enough. So what did we decide to do? We finally settled on an 85% capacity rate, and what this really allowed us to do is maintain most of the revenue streams, but yet we were able to find ways to cut costs pretty substantially. And so I think that's the most important part. And when I say cut costs substantially, we had to work hard on our costs. We did. We had to work hard, but even with those reductions, we took a look at it. We took a look at an iteration once again, and we knew we had to do more. Thus, we had to do our reduction in force. And again, I want to take this opportunity to thank our employees for sticking with us. It was a tough summer. It was. And as Director Peltier or Chairman Peltier said, thank you for sticking with us, because I've said this often. The most precious, most important asset anybody can have are your people. You can have all the technology and all the great assets in the world, but if you don't have a good workforce, if you don't have the kind of workforce we have, you can't be successful. So, in the end, all those changes yielded greatly improved forecasts. The top line here you'll see is the new forecast. The bottom line is the old forecast. The difference between those two lines at Dakota Gasification Company over those 10 years you're seeing, $550 million improvement over 10 years. And the other thing we got to looking at as we were doing this is, has this plant, over the course of the last 30 years, has this plant been an asset? Has it been a benefit to you, the members? And actually, even after netting out all the losses and some of the things that have occurred, yes. And tomorrow we'll review this in greater detail with you, but yes. We believe that to be about $1 billion benefit yet today for the membership over the course of the last 30 years of ownership. And by the way, I just noted the other day, as of October 31st or last week, we have owned that plant now for 30 years. So, what's the conclusion? The conclusion is this plant is in a much better place than it has been for quite some time, and is in a much better place financially today, even than it was just 6 months ago, quite frankly. At Basin Electric, it's really going to be a shift in how we do business. I think I talked a little bit at the beginning saying, joining SPP, what a change for Basin Electric. We have greatly reduced our costs over the last 2 years, but we know we need to do more. We know we need to continue to reduce costs. Knowing this, and I want to take this public opportunity here this morning, knowing this, the Coteau guys sat down with us, our North American partner. And they sit with us at our table and they review our forecasts. They know our business, they understand, and they came back to us and said, guys, we can do something here. We can do something. And they're taking some risk too. They are. But I want to publicly thank them this morning for being with us and being our partner in this, because they understand and they understand the need for us to deliver power at the lowest possible cost to you, our members. In the meantime, our power plant people were also looking at ourselves, going, is there a way, in working with our marketing folks, is there a way that we can run our power plants differently? And it might mean adjusting how we operate those plants. Do we leave them down longer to economically dispatch them a little bit when they're down? Do we throttle them back? And you're saying, well, what does that mean? That means we can, if market prices are lower than what those costs are to run those facilities, we can access that market. And what does that mean? That means we deliver back to you, the members, at lower costs, meaning lower rates for you, the membership. And this is important. And this is important. And we're working hard on that. We're working hard on that. Concurrently, we're also moving from a construction era at Basin Electric to an operations mode. This is a natural evolution, guys. This happens all the time. It's a business cycle. It really is. You know, if you think about it, we've been in construction since 2006. Think Dry Fork Station. Think Deer Creek. Think the Bakken Peakers. Think the Bakken Transmission. Think the urea plant. You know, and we've tried all of this, we did all of this to serve you, the membership, a growing membership. And so what's really occurred from that? We've seen huge increases in the assets that we own at Basin Electric, that you own. In the last 10 years, Basin Electric's assets have doubled to just over $7 billion, a huge increase. The good news is, and later today, Dave Rotz, Becky Kern, and Valerie Weigel will talk a lot more about this, and they are much better at it than I am, and they're going to give you an update as to where we're at. But the good news is, as Dave says, our current member load forecasts don't show a need for new generation assets until the 2026 to 2028 timeframe. That's good news, guys. That means we don't have to expend more dollars. We can serve you utilizing our own generation and market access. That's very important. That's very important. So let's look forward for just a few minutes. Let's look forward. And at the outset, I went through a timeline with you, and I explained to you how all of the changes that have occurred. And I got to thinking about this as we were going through some changes this summer, and I got to thinking about, you know, if our business has changed, maybe it's time that we take a look at ourselves. How can we improve ourselves? Can we do things differently? Can we be more efficient? So we formed the process assessment team. Our team is looking closely at all the business processes. This team is interdepartmental. It reports to me. It has a representative from every department that we have at Basin Electric. You know, here is a list of some of the things they're looking at. And you can get a flavor there for just the wide variety. No rock unturned. No rock unturned. This team will stay in place for a number of months so that we can continue to take a look at. But all of this is to see if we can be more efficient and more effective to deliver power to you in a cheaper manner. We're also looking forward at regulation. We're proponents of the Affordable Clean Energy Rule. We are. What does this really do? It gives us certainty and flexibility. And we need to get this rule in place as law because we're not sure what can happen in 2 short years, and I know you're tired of watching political ads, but in 2 short years we'll be doing it again, and we could have a new administration. So it's important that we get this rule in place of the Clean Power Plan as law. At the same time, we're seeing that our generation portfolio is evolving. In the year 2000, 85% of our electricity was generated from coal. Today, we have about 45% generated. And this phenomenon's really occurred only because in the last 10 years or so, we've only really added generation assets that included gas and wind. But the one thing I want you to understand, we are not abandoning coal because we're proponents of an all-above generation solution, and we always will be. We believe coal needs to be a part of our generation portfolio. You know, looking forward a little bit at innovation, this is an exciting industry. It really is. Our Horizons team is constantly taking a look, and Lieutenant Governor Sanford talked a little bit about innovation and the exciting time we're in. He's right. This is exciting. Think about this for a minute. Think about battery storage. The wind comes up during the day. Your wind turbines fill the battery with energy. When the wind goes down at night, you can serve your load with utilization of batteries. That's going to change the generation dynamics of the whole electric energy industry if that happens. I don't know when, I don't know how fast it'll happen, but it will. And wind is becoming more competitive too. When we first entered the wind markets, our wind turbines, we were realizing maybe 35 or 38% capacity factors. Today, with changes in technology, the pitch of the blade or the change in the generators, and I'm not an engineer, I'm not going to pretend to be and explain it to you, but with changes like that, we're seeing 50% capacity factors with wind. It's exciting. Speaking a little bit about technology, and at the beginning I talked a little bit about the Integrated Test Center at Dry Fork Station. We dedicated that in May. Five X Prize finalists will test the capture of carbon, will test the sequestration of carbon, and then see if there's a product that can be had to be sold for carbon. You know, if you step back from it a little bit, I've always been proud of our cooperative family. I think working with the state of Wyoming, our sister G&T Tri-State, our members' first cooperative in Wyoming, NRECA, all of us being partners in this, we are innovation partners, and I'm proud of our cooperative family for being able to do that. So, last but not least, most importantly, united with our members. You know, we have always been united with our members. Here's a photograph from the 1988 annual meeting where you, the members, approved the purchase of the Great Plains Synfuels plant. You know, last night I had the opportunity to again talk to so many of our distribution members that were at the social at the headquarters building. I understand the retail pressures you're under. I understand it. It's changing out there. I get it. And we do need to become more competitive. I know that. I understand that. I think we've taken some real big steps over the past summer to help with that. I do. In turn, we need to improve our communication with our distribution members. We do. We need to improve just because we need to understand the challenges they face so that we can help them more at Basin Electric. We need to do that. We understand that. And maybe there's some steps we can work on. One example I think that we've tried to do is our day 2 members only meeting. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's what we need to do. You know, we're trying to take some other steps, but I really do think these are some of the things. It's communication and it's understanding the challenges better at the end of the line for our membership. You know, if we all pull in the same direction here, we're going to be very successful. I think Chairman Peltier mentioned that too in his speech. Think about it. Who is Basin Electric? Well, it's you. It's our membership. You own these assets. You entrust us to run them in an economic, efficient, low-cost manner. We have a path together, though, to get there. We will get there. We have a bright future. I know we do. I can see it. And tomorrow at our members-only meeting, Director Peltier said the same thing. You will see this as well. In the end, we're united with you, our membership, to be successful. Guys, I'm excited about our future. We got this. We got this. Before I close, I want to take this opportunity to sincerely thank my board of directors. For you guys, we appreciate, staff appreciates so much you sticking with us this summer. You never wavered. You never hesitated, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you. I also want to thank our membership for understanding and being patient with us. We're going to get there, guys. Have a great annual meeting. We'll be around. If you have questions, let us know, and we can sure get to you. Thank you, and have a great annual meeting, everybody.